So let's talk about the mods for the Ego mini bike. Alright, so really excited to show you guys some of the mods that we did for the Ego mini bike, but first, got a little DIY solar shed action. 330 watt foldable Pecron solar panel leading into my shed over here. Added this little port, little door, the cable. So I kind of wanted something that was compact, something that I could bring to other places. Another reason I like the foldable panels is that I could change the direction depending on where the sun is facing to get the most energy. And I'm not really charging like a ton of things like all at once. So it kind of works for like this size shed. Let's go inside. Okay, so there's the mini bike. So yeah, the panel comes out through here, and I could add another panel. I'll probably do another 330 watt panel. So we're only getting about 72 watts because it's not that sunny outside. And I am drawing, it looks like 611 watts from the dual charger of the Ego. And then we have some lights over here, just like a LED light and then some shop lights, which are also LED. So we're not drawing a ton of power, but it is more than what we're getting from the solar panel. So what I do is I charge this up when it's sunny outside, and then I have enough to, you know, fill up the batteries. And you have a ton of ports over here, some DC ports, a bunch of USB ports, and then you have a bunch of AC outputs over here. And that's pretty much all I need for the size of this shed. It's pretty small. So the first thing that we got for the bike is this left-mounted rear view mirror, and obviously this is for enhanced visibility, so it gives you clear view of traffic behind you, you know, makes it a little more safe when you're riding on the streets. And I think it's conveniently positioned because it's between the switch over here and then the brakes, and kind of comes out over here. I'll put a link in the description. I think this is the half knee mirror. Another really easy mod is this Sur-Ron extended rear fender. Now, obviously the stock fender is a little bit wider. So for the stock fender, it kind of angles downwards. So I wanted something that kind of matched the lines of the subframe. So it just goes straight like that. Very similar to the Sur-Ron. For this particular fender, there's 3 holes that actually match the holes of the stock fender. So this comes shipped with like grommets where the holes are. But if you drill those out, you could actually put the bolts right through, and then they attach right into the bike. And I also put some like rubber grommets between the fender and the subframe, just to fill in the space, because you can see it's raised up a bit. Yeah, and I like it. I think it adds more of a sleek look to it. You know, feels like a little bit more aggressive. Another useful mod is this tactical molly bag that I mounted to the handlebars. So this gives you some space to, you know, put your phone or your keys right in the center. And it doesn't really interfere with your steering at all. And you just have these 2 straps with like a button that wrap around here. And it's kind of the perfect size for these handlebars. So another accessory I added is this quad lock phone mount. And basically what this does is it holds your phone firmly in place and it stays put no matter what terrain you're riding on. So I love this because it keeps the phone easily accessible, especially if you're following GPS directions. And you know, this is only useful if you have a quad lock mount. If you don't have one, I suggest you get one. It's really useful, and especially if you ride a lot. And so yeah, highly recommended. So another thing I wanted to talk about is disabling the motor cutoff sensor. So I have the left brake motor cutoff disabled, and this allows like smoother acceleration and deceleration by removing that sort of abrupt motor cutoff when you press down the brake. I find that it allows you to adjust speed more precisely. It makes handling the bike a lot easier. And I have this on my Sur-Ron as well, and all of my e-bikes. I just remove the brake sensors. All right, so all you gotta do is unscrew the sensor with a Phillips head screwdriver. This comes off pretty easily. And then you'll see this blue button right here. And so you want this blue button to be always closed. That's how this switch works. And if it's always closed, it means that when you press the brakes, it doesn't disable the motor. So it disables it when this thing pops up, basically. So all you got to do is take a zip tie and just wrap it around the button, and you just tighten it. There you go. And you just cut the zip tie. And to make sure that the zip tie doesn't come off, I use some cloth tape, and I just wrap it around the sensor so the zip tie doesn't move side to side. It's not permanent. You could easily remove this if you want your sensors back. And you just screw the sensor back on. And it doesn't really have to be touching anything since the lever is not going to change anything. So you could just kind of position it like so. Okay, so the next mod that I did was blacking out the center logo here on the left as well as on the right. So the reason I did this was I wanted a more stealth appearance, right? It conceals the Ego brand identity. So it just, I don't know, for me it makes it a little more neutral and inconspicuous without having all the lime green. So this is just a matte piece of vinyl, and I just made a paper template and kind of just traced around this area and then cut it out with scissors. You know, not super precise, but it's fine. You know, you can't really see the edges. If you want to bring it back to stock, you could just peel it off and then you get the Ego logo back. Another interesting cosmetic mod I did are these disc covers over here. I wanted basically a front wheel disc cover to kind of match the rear over here, which is basically the entire wheel is the hub motor. So it looks like a disc, but it's actually the whole motor. And with the stock wheel, you know, it's definitely a mag style rim. But I figured why not black that out as well? I think it actually visually balances the appearance of the front, you know, and the rear wheels. It really doesn't serve any performance purpose. It's just something I've done on my Sur-Ron. Now I did this side as well. You can see it's kind of rougher on the edges over here. I'm probably gonna add some kind of like car detail trim, like edging trim, to go around here and kind of hide these rough edges. And obviously you see these zip ties, you know, I could probably do some bolts if I wanted to. It's not a big deal. I basically just printed out like a template and then cut some ABS, really thin ABS plastic. If you want this template, in case you want to do the same thing, just send me an email. I could send you the PDF file. Now to go along with this blacked out aesthetic, I also Plasti dipped the rims, as you could see. I basically put Plasti dip over all of the lime green Ego trim along the rim over here. So like on the inside it's all black, but on the stock bike you have the green trim. And so yeah, that was pretty easy. There's a ton of tutorials you can find online to do this, but essentially I just used a bunch of painter's tape and just kind of taped around all the edges and then put a plastic bag to cover, you know, obviously all of these components, and then you just spray it. I did like 6 coats each on each side, front and back, and I think I waited about a half an hour between each coat. And I just let it cure overnight. I think it came out pretty good. If you want to go back to stock, it would be really easy to just peel this off. So Plasti dip is really good for doing things that you don't want to be permanent. Okay, so full disclosure with this next mod, it'll probably void your warranty because you are kind of changing some of the internals of the bike. As far as I know, if you bring this to like a licensed Ego repair facility or something, if this mod can be linked to your problem that you have, the warranty can be refused. And yeah, so if the mod is not linkable to your issue when you get this thing looked at, then you'll have no problem with your warranty. So that's about all I know in terms of the warranty, and I think it's only 1 year from when you purchase the bike. So after 1 year, you know, you can kind of go crazy, but I'm just kind of doing all the mods now. Okay, so what I did was I added turn signals. I'll turn the bike on and you'll see that I have these strip lights here on the side. I have this like on most of my bikes. I have it on the Sur-Ron, obviously, and I also have it on my Zeus bike. I love how this looks when I'm riding, especially at night. You're super visible, like, you know, cars can see the side of you. Also added another rear taillight, which is maybe a little weird because, you know, the rear taillight on the stock Ego bike is actually really, really nice. I like it a lot, but I didn't want to remove it, and I just wanted something that would add signals without things sticking out from the sides. So I really like this LED strip. I have this on most of my bikes, and it works really well. So up here I have the fork lights. Now I don't have the daylight signal activated. I did try to run it through the bike, but I don't know. I think there might not have been enough power coming from the step down, and it was like kind of tweaking out. So I just have this activated as a signal, and then up here is where my signal switch is. And it's really compact, you know, this style. It fits right between my brakes and my rear view mirror. Obviously, I don't have a horn attached because we already have the horn, but I do have the lights attached. This basically turns on all of my lighting. And then left signal, as you can see, got a sequential pattern over here, as well as the front. And then right side, that's what that looks like. Now you can change the rate of the flashing. I do have a flasher relay underneath the seat. I'll show you guys in a second what that looks like. And it actually makes the bike street legal, because here in Michigan, to register your bike as a moped, you do need signals, you do need a horn, you do need a mirror. So that covers almost all of the requirements for moped registration here in Michigan. Other states may be a little bit more strict. Okay, let's take a peek inside. So I already unbolted the seat. Okay, so chances are you've already removed the seat to access the speed limiter here. So speed limiter is off. So this can hit the top speed of 28 miles per hour. And if you look above the controller, this is the step down. So this is a 12 volt step down that's powering the headlight, I believe, and the rear taillight. All I did was basically tap into the power coming out of the step down. So you have 3 wires coming out. You have the black wire, yellow wire, and red wire. And so the black is negative, and the yellow is the 12 volt output. Not the red. You want to stay away from the red. This is the power output. Okay. So all I did was put some T connectors and kind of splice them into the black and yellow wire. Then I ran those wires all the way to the back here and just made my custom harnesses. I say harness with quotes because it's just, you know, all the wires sort of like twisted together and soldered. So just a quick and dirty way to get all the signals connected. And essentially it's just like all the negative wires, all the right-hand turn signal wires, left-hand turn signal wires, and then all the wires that connect to the taillight, and then obviously to the switch, and they run through the bike. I was able to kind of route it through the frame over here. So this panel just pops out, and I was able to pull the wires through the frame and then out through this side. So really easy because the bike is so small to kind of route stuff through it. And I do have a full video on doing your own DIY electric turn signal kit. I made it a few years ago, but it would apply basically the same idea. You're just trying to get the 12 volts into all of these lights, and you could kind of do your own setup. All of these are like available on Amazon. I'll put links in the description, but you could choose your own 12 volt lights. And then obviously here's the flasher relay, and then there's like a little component here for the side lights. Luckily you have all this room, all this space, you know, back here in the frame to house this wiring. As long as you get your measurements right, you won't have wires bunched up all over the place. So that's what I really love about this frame. It's just super easy to mod. And then eventually, when we get a new controller, a new power kit, right, we could pull all this stuff out and then pop in a more powerful controller and even a motor. So those are our plans. We'll see what happens. I know a lot of people are asking about it. And before I go, the last thing I want to show you guys are these street tires. So I did order these tires from Amazon. These are the Michelin City Grip 2s. And the measurement is 130/70/12. And so this matches the measurement of the stock tires, except they're street. And so this is definitely going to give this bike more of a supermoto look, or a mini supermoto look, more like a Grom, a mini Grom. And we'll visit our buddies over at Detroit Moped Works. We'll see Alex over there, and he's going to help us put these tires on because there's no way I could do this by myself. We need his brute strength and yeah, the tools in his shop to get these things, you know, on the motor and then on the front wheel. And I haven't taken the motor off yet, but I'm assuming we're going to have to somehow remove all the cabling from the controller and probably take out the phase wires and the harnesses or whatever. We'll see. but I'm gonna need a hand to do that. And then from there, we will keep you guys posted on the power kit that's being developed for this thing. And I think this is gonna be a really, really cool bike. Also, if you haven't already, definitely join our Facebook group. It's Ego Mini Bike Modders on Facebook, and we're growing pretty slowly, but I think a lot of people are starting to find it and are really interested in modding this bike. For all the people who complain that, oh, this thing is just a toy, or the specs are so low. Honestly, I like the specs as they are, to be honest. I think a lot of people are gonna be surprised when they see this thing really powered up to its full potential. I think it's only like at 50% potential, but the baseline, you know, like the foundation, I think is really, really cool. There's like nothing that looks or feels like this right now. So yeah, really excited to share all the information I get. I'm going to share with you guys. So that's about it. And we'll see you guys in the next video.